What's up, you guys? It's Adam with Anabolic Climbing, climbing's #1 favorite mad scientist, and today we're going to talk about the upcoming deload, because holy smokes, I'm tired. Finishing up training block 2, what we're doing for the next training block, and upcoming experiments and compounds that we're going to deploy on the channel. So sit tight, relax, grab yourself a beverage, and let's hop into it. So we just finished week 12 of this training block. We're going to go into strength tests for next week. And yeah, everything's starting to come together really nicely. Couple notes. At this point, my power is getting much better, particularly from my back and legs. The pistol squat achievement has been unlocked. I'm finally able to jump a little bit higher, pull a little bit harder, and I'm pretty over the moon about it. Right now, one of my limiting factors on the kilter board is my contact strength. And that's for a couple of reasons. One, I'm usually used to dynoing on bigger holds. And the other part is I'm getting heavier. Currently weighing around 167, 168. My weight is stabilized. And now that we're done with this training block, I didn't hit my target weight of 170, but that's okay. I am sure I could eat more and push to get there. I'm pretty happy to call it quits after this weight cut, take a deload, relax, and do a 6-week mini cut. And I want to do that for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I have gained almost 15 pounds since starting this. We went from about 154, hanging out at 167, 168. And that is a huge weight increase over a 6-month period. 10 of those pounds have come in the last 8 weeks. And even though my fingers are doing a great job handling it, I still would really like to give myself a little bit of a breather, cut down on some food, and also try out some compounds together that I'm sure you guys are eager to hear about. The other part is I kind of want to see how much muscle I keep going after this cut. If I would have made a pretty significant weight cut from my initial start, I was probably somewhere between 20 to 22% body fat, whereas right now I'm probably closer to 15 to 18%. We have some lower abs starting to show through. The fat on my lower back is finally starting to melt away a bit, and it would be cool to see how the results change and also how the body comp changes if we do a nice little 6-week mini cut. I'm not trying to get too drastic with it, but if we can drop 5 to 10 pounds in that 6-week period, that would be incredible. So for the upcoming training block, no new anabolics are going to be deployed. We're going to keep it at 200 milligrams of testosterone prop a week, as well as 10 milligrams a day of Anavar sublingually. That's been doing really well. We're going to double check blood work because estrogen feels like it's been a little bit higher. I've had an aromatase inhibitor on deck to deploy every other day, just if I notice like some feeling in the chest tissue. So far, no growth, which is awesome, and it's good to be prepared. But I would like to see what my estradiol is looking like right now before I start adding any other compounds in to either suppress estrogen or to, drive any more force output. Obviously, you don't want to start suppressing estrogen in a sport like climbing without some blood work involved. If we suppress it too much, it could have some pretty deleterious impacts on collagen synthesis, and better safe than sorry. I also don't want to put any more force production on my fingers just yet. So I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but I have had limited range of motion on my right middle finger for a few years now. And now that I'm really using it to pull really hard on smaller holds on dynos, it's holding up fine, but it's getting a little sore. And I want to use this training block to rehab it as much as possible. I've shock loaded it a couple times and it's held up just fine after a little bit of rest. But I think there's an opportunity to get some mobility back, to maybe break up some scar tissue. And that's what I'm going to try to do over this 6-week period. Really look at this as an opportunity to sort of keep my fingers as healthy as possible and make sure that I could really trust them on various different conditions before I start increasing force output. On the topic of fingers and tendon health, I've also had some pretty hectic reverberation feel in my forearms, particularly on overhanging crimps and on slopers. And to combat that, I have done a whole bunch of arm wrestling training. I have done training on the flexors. I have done some training for pronation on the wrist. I have done some wrist curls to try to strengthen the lower part of the forearm too. And I have had some really great results with that. On my last round on the kilter board, I was in way less pain, which is amazing. And really it's just going to take the rest of this next train block on the cut to just get as healthy as possible. So when I am ready to dial up the anabolics on the training block after, we can go pretty pedal to the metal, relatively speaking, with a bit more confidence. Even if we're going to start slow and ramp up, I still want to know that I could trust my fingers before I demand more of them and give them some more horsepower as well. So what are we doing next? Well, we're going to try out some low-dose retatrutide, probably starting at about 0.5 milligram a week, which is obviously low, but I don't get super hungry. And we're going to be bringing back SLU-PP332 into the mix. I'm really excited to climb on Sloopy a little bit more consistently. I want to see if that has positive effects on the cardiovascular system. I think it should. I also want to see if it helps with the endurance aspect. I think it could be super interesting. And, to try it not just for like weight suppression on vacation, but really just climbing on it consistently. Also in the summer to see if the heat and the sweating is a side effect that I'll encounter on 500 micrograms. As far as the retatrutide, I'm not trying to go crazy with the doses. I know that you could easily start at 2 milligrams, but I don't get super hungry, and I'm more interested in it for the glucagon receptor action than the appetite suppression. So we're going to try both of them together and see what kind of result we get. I also am hoping that it'll help with the HDL and LDL, which are a little higher than I would like. And if I'm going to be cutting carbs, it's going to be good for my A1C, which is higher. It's in the reference range, but it's not where I would like it to be. So that's the upcoming plan for the next training block. And then there are a couple of other options that we can handle for training block 4. I haven't decided yet if we're going to try out some primobolan, depending on what my estradiol looks like. I haven't decided if we're going to test out either halotestin, YK11, or ostarine, all three of which could be super, super interesting. I don't want to use ostarine for more than 2 weeks, but I really want to test it for force production. YK11, if the estradiol makes sense, could be worth using it for some minor suppression and some increased power output. Halotestin for dynos seems like peanut butter and jelly. The added aggression plus force production would be super cool. And the same could be said for turinabol. We're probably going to do 2 training blocks where we're going to compare compounds. That'll be determined later. And for the next weight cut, I think that's probably going to be training block 6. That's when we're probably going to run the Duchess compound, where we're going to do a little bit of primobolan, a little bit of anavar, and probably 25 milligrams of trenbolone weekly. While I could tolerate more, tren is scary, and I don't think you need a lot of effect to see some like cosmetic results and potentially training results. If I need to dial up the dose, I can, but I don't want to deal with the progesterogenic effects of tren. I also want to have one weight cut under my belt so I can compare Reta and SLU-PP332 and anavar and test as a weight cut versus adding in the tren and the primo to see what the difference is on the cosmetic side and the power output side. So if you have anything that you guys want to see between the Halo YK11, ostarine, or turinabol for training blocks 4 or 5, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'm certainly open to what you're interested in and why. I am also hesitant but super excited to share the results on the REDUP and the SLU PP332. I think a lot of climbers are hesitant when it comes to anabolics and getting bigger, but I think every one of them is curious about leaning out and getting smaller. So I'm hesitant to publish the research on that, but we're still going to do some stuff for science. Lastly, this is a deload week for me, so I get to relax a little bit, which is great because I'm freaking exhausted. But I am curious to see what my deadlift, my weighted pull-ups, and my block pulls are going to be after this deload. I have a funny feeling, or we're going to try to pull 405 on the deadlift, which is going to be pretty big. When we initially did it, I was PRing about 275. So in 12 weeks to go from 275 to 405 would be super legit. Weighted pull-ups, I'm either going to try to PR at 100 pounds or try to do 70 pounds for a set of 5. And for the weighted block pulls, I'm aiming for 120 to 125. In general, in a 6-week training block, gaining 5 to 10 pounds is considered super impressive results. So if we're able to smash that ceiling injury-free and set a new PR on that, which started at 70 pounds, by the way, at the beginning of this project, it would lend some credence to the idea that Anavar could have outsized gains for finger strength, which, you know, I'm not going to try to hurt myself, but I would also be over the moon if we were able to prove that. That would be really, that would be some groundbreaking stuff that it would be really cool to share with the community. Anyway, that's kind of the plan. I'm going to be giving you guys some more training footage updates weekly and try to be a little bit more frequent with the check-ins. I appreciate you guys for the likes, comments, and subscriptions on the training footage. You guys are awesome and super supportive. I'm thinking about setting up a Discord for this next training block if anyone wants to hop in and ask questions. But yeah, thank you guys for being with me on the journey so far. Adam with Anabolic Climbing saying happy sending, big hugs, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.